When I came back from lunch, I found my mom causing a scene near the office stairwell. There she was, clad in her cleaner's uniform, bowing and apologizing to the boss's daughter, who was soaked in her suit. It looked like she was on the brink of kneeling down to apologize. My mom, a single mother, had been raising me while juggling part-time and temp jobs for years. To make her life easier, I hustled to find a job and managed to land a full-time position at a well-known, leading company in the industry. Now that I could earn my own money, I wanted my mom, who had struggled so much, to quit her job and take it easy. However, even though I was an employee at a large corporation, my salary wasn't so high because of my career.
You have to pay off your college loans, right? If I quit my job, we'd be living hand to mouth just like we used to.
With that said, my mother continued to work after I entered the workforce. Then, about 2 years later, she started working as a cleaner at my company. After her temp contract ended, she had applied for a cleaner position that was open, and coincidentally, she was assigned to work at my company. Both of us were surprised at first, but now we're used to seeing each other's faces at work. My colleagues know that the cleaner lady is my mom, and they greet her whenever they pass by her in the hallway.
There are so many good people at your company.
She happily said when she first started working there. Despite how cheerful she seemed at work, now she was bowing and apologizing to the president's daughter, whom I'll call Sarah, on the stairwell landing.
How are you going to fix it? This is an important suit. Now it's all dirty.
Exclaimed Sarah, whose custom-fitted tailored suit was thoroughly wetted. On the floor, the buckets were scattered and water was floating just like a pool filled with trash. It seems my mom had accidentally splashed Sarah with the dirty water in the bucket. Sarah, the company president's daughter, joined the company a year after me, and everyone handled her delicately and cautiously. I haven't personally met Sarah, but I've heard she's a down-to-earth, well-mannered woman, despite being the boss's daughter. However, people don't know how to interact with her because she's the president's daughter. Thanks to that, she's a bit of an outsider in the company. And now, she was lashing out at my mom, the apologetic cleaner, with her shrill, piercing voice.
I'll have the management company fire you.
I'm deeply sorry.
My mom replied. In a panic, I rushed over to help my mom, bowing alongside her. I am extremely sorry.
What? Who are you?
I replied without raising my head. This woman is my mom. I'm really, really sorry for what she's done. We'll cover the dry cleaning costs, so please, can you not fire her?
I don't need your money for dry cleaning.
But, please accept it. I pulled out some cash from my wallet. At that moment, Sarah looked at me with a puzzled expression. Ignoring her reaction, I pulled out some cash and offered it to her. On my face, there was a turbo burn scar. When I was a kid, I accidentally knocked over a kettle boiling on the stove and got scalded by the hot water. She must have noticed the burn skin on my face. That's why she looked puzzled. Sarah didn't take the money, but just stared at my face surprisingly. Then suddenly turned around and walked away without saying anything. Wait, please. If you don't want money for the dry cleaning, at least let me give you a handkerchief. I chased after Sarah, figuring it must be uncomfortable for her to stay wet. I offered her my handkerchief. However, she didn't even glance at me. I'm fine, she said in a curt tone before walking down the hallway. I messed up. I stood frozen. It seemed like I had made her really angry. My mom looked disappointed and shrugged her shoulders.
I'm sorry. It's all because I wasn't careful. She's the boss's daughter, isn't she? I'm sorry if I've made things difficult for you at work because of me.
It's okay, Mom. Don't worry about it. I couldn't really believe it was okay, but I didn't want to see her upset anymore, so it was all I could say. I worked the rest of the day with a heavy heart. Treading on thin ice with the boss's daughter, I feared an imminent cautionary note. Word of the incident had already circulated throughout the entire company. Because of the burns on my face, I was easily remembered by people who did not know me, and the next day I was already famous within the company as the person who had upset Sarah. Moreover, my colleagues, who didn't want to offend the boss or his daughter, started to avoid me. I let out a small sigh. It was just as my mom had worried. I started to feel really uncomfortable at the office. 2 weeks after the water incident, I was finally called into the boss's office. On the way there, I ran into my mom, who was also dressed as a cleaner. It seemed that she had also been summoned at the same time. There was no doubt in my mind that this was about the water incident. Will I be scolded? Will I be given a pay cut? Or worse, fired? While these dark thoughts whirled around in my head, I knocked on the door to the boss's office. "Excuse us." When I entered the room, there were the boss and his daughter Sarah, just as I had thought.
"I'm sorry for asking you both to come here."
I bowed deeply to the boss and his daughter.
I am truly sorry for getting your daughter's clothes dirty.
My mom also bowed at a right angle to them.
I am really, really sorry for my carelessness. I don't know how to apologize. We will certainly compensate you, but could you please reconsider any punishment for my son? He was just trying to protect me.
Mom. Seeing my mom pleading for my innocence with a trembling voice, I felt a burn in my chest.
"Please, both of you, raise your heads."
The boss's voice over my head was unexpectedly calm. I raised my head, feeling perplexed.
"The reason I asked you here today is that my daughter wants to talk to you about this incident. Sarah."
Yes?
Prompted by her father, Sarah stepped forward. Her face wasn't full of anger or contempt, but surprisingly, it was filled with what looked like regret.
I'm terribly sorry for what happened the other day.
Sarah, bowing deeply and politely, just as I had done earlier. My voice and my mom's overlap.
Huh?
Sarah lifts her head, a downtrodden expression on her face, and explains.
The suit I was wearing. It belonged to my deceased mom. More accurately, it was my mom's suit, tailored to fit me after her passing. It's something I cherish greatly. When it got wet, I just lost it. I said things I shouldn't have. I'm really sorry. And on top of that, on that day.
To break down Sarah's story, it was something like this. Sarah, the boss's daughter, was treated like a delicate object in the company, as everyone, including myself, knew. People were considerate about her, thinking they shouldn't give the boss's daughter tough assignments or upset her in any way. This resulted in her not getting much work in her department and being relegated to simple tasks. Sarah was fed up with such a daily routine.
I wanted to take on more challenges. I wanted to earn recognition through my own efforts, to carve out my own place in the company.
For Sarah, the constant consideration she received because she was the boss's daughter was nothing but a burden.
So, one day I told my supervisor, please give me a chance.
And so, Sarah got involved in a big project in collaboration with other companies. When she got a grasp on the project and could follow the meetings smoothly, Sarah was assigned to prepare an important presentation. It was her first big assignment, and wanting to give it her all, she had her mother's suit tailored and wore it to the presentation as her battle dress.
That was the day when I got splashed with water.
The presentation she gave in her mother's suit, however, didn't go smoothly due to her nervousness and lack of experience.
Of course, I didn't expect everything to go smoothly from the start. But the shock of not being able to fulfill my role, even after I was given such a big job.
And then, when she was feeling down and returned to the office, my mom accidentally splashed her with dirty water from the floor cleaning bucket when she slipped on the stairs. All these incidents added up and caused Sarah to lose her temper.
I'm really sorry. I lost my temper, which isn't befitting of an adult. I couldn't control my emotions with everything going wrong. I yelled and caused such an unpleasant scene for you. I truly apologize.
Oh, it's not like.
My mom looks flustered as Sarah bows her head again.
I'm the one who should apologize. I stained your mother's suit. It's a very precious item, isn't it? I'm truly sorry. I don't know what I can do to make it up to you, but please, at least let me compensate you in some way.
It's not a big deal. It's all right.
The one who said that was the boss.
I've sent it for dry cleaning now, but they said the stain should come out easily. No need to compensate for anything. Please, don't worry about it.
Oh, really? That's a relief.
My mom breathes a sigh of relief.
I wanted to thank both of you.
Said the boss. Hub. I asked him back. Thank us.
It was only after hearing about this incident that I realized my daughter, Sarah, might be emotionally unstable. Until recently, she never had such explosive outbursts of anger. It made me realize that I need to make time to have a conversation with her. And it was only after talking to her that I came to understand that she was feeling uncomfortable and stressed at work. If it weren't for this incident, I might have continued misunderstanding Sarah. Looking at it that way, this incident turned out to be a blessing in disguise for me. Both of you gave me the opportunity to have a heartfelt conversation with my daughter. Thank you so much.
Oh, don't mention it. The unexpected words of gratitude from the boss left Bob and my mom feeling both humbled and flustered. Then the boss turned towards Sarah and said, "So Sarah, you had something else you wanted to talk about with him, right?"
Yes?
Sarah nodded in agreement. Then, she pulled out a slightly worn-out amulet from her pocket. She presented it to me.
Bob, do you recognize this amulet?
The amulet had the words "academic success" was embroidered it. I looked at the amulet, tilted my head for a few seconds, and then, "Oh, Ido, is this?"
I thought so. That was you, wasn't it?
Sarah smiled with delight. A scene from a winter's day during my 8th grade flashed back in my mind. It was the morning of my high school entrance exam. I had been asked for directions to the hospital by a young girl about my age. The girl seemed desperate, admitting that she didn't understand the New York City's complex transit system. I knew the trains in New York could be quite confusing and wondered how I could explain it to her in the simplest way. In the end, I decided to accompany her to the nearest station to her hospital. I had left my house considerably early, intending to do some last-minute studying at the test venue, so I had plenty of time. As a result, however, I couldn't get to my studying. During the train ride to the hospital's nearest station, I learned about the girl's circumstances. Her mother was hospitalized at the hospital we were heading to. Her father was usually busy working to cover her mother's medical bills and had no time to come home. So, she lived with her grandparents on her father's side in the countryside and hadn't visited New York since she was in elementary school. She had received news last night that her mother was critically ill, so she had taken the earliest train to New York. That's why she wanted to get to the hospital as soon as possible. But she got lost in the intricate transit network of New York. She was genuinely thankful to me for helping her. As she raced through the ticket gates at the nearest station to the hospital, I handed her the lucky charm I had with me at that time. I felt anxious sending her off alone with her tearful, anxious expression. But I had my own exam to focus on, so I couldn't go with her. I'm sorry. This is all I have because I'm a student. I hope your mom gets better. With all my heart, I told her. The amulet had the words "academic success" engraved on it.
It was me who was lost that day,
said Sarah.
I managed to reach the hospital after that, and I was able to talk to my mom for a little while. I think if I had been lost for another 5 minutes, I wouldn't have been able to see my mom. So I'm really grateful to that boy. I remembered him when I saw your face the other day, Bob.
This one, right? I pointed to the large burn scar on my face. Probably, Sarah in her younger days remembered this scar of mine.
Yes.
Sarah hesitantly nodded.
If Bob was that boy, I feel like I've returned kindness with ingratitude. I wanted to make sure. Again, thank you so much for that time. And I'm truly sorry for yelling at your mom the other day.
Please allow me to express my gratitude and apology too.
Added the boss after Sarah.
Thank you for letting my wife and daughter meet at the end. And my daughter was very rude the other day.
Both the boss and Sarah bowed their heads to me. Please lift your heads, President. And you too, Sarah. The boss lifted his head and then turned to my mom. Ma'am, you have a wonderful son.
Oh, that's...
Don't be modest. And you yourself have become somewhat of a reputation in our company.
Yeah?
There's this cleaner who greets everyone very warmly. They say when you're greeted with a smile by that person, even if you're down at work, you feel more positive. I've been hearing such stories lately. That cleaner is you, isn't it?
That's...
I thought that might be true on behalf of my mom, who humbly fell silent. I've heard from my colleagues a few times, Mrs. Roberts, who does the cleaning, is really nice.
Thanks to your diligent cleaning and warm greetings, I feel like the atmosphere of the company is gradually becoming cleaner. Somehow, that's the sense I'm getting. You must have a good fit with our company culture and with our employees.
Well, thank you.
I have a proposal. Would you consider working for us?
Excuse me.
Right now, you're being dispatched from another cleaning management company to work here, right? How about we switch to directly employing you? You might have to do some administrative work, but it would make your employment more stable. Of course, only if you're okay with it.
My mom and I exchanged surprised looks. Could such a thing happen? With a look of disbelief, my mom asked, "Are you sure?"
Absolutely. I believe you'll become a great source of positivity for the company.
From that day, the transfer process for my mom went smoothly, and a few days later, she became an employee working at the same company as of me. Since we work in different departments, I don't know the specificities, but apparently, my mom had worked in office work as a temp in the past, and she was able to learn her new job surprisingly quickly. She's also getting along with the other employees, and now even goes out to lunch with Sarah from time to time.
Maybe Sarah sees a mother figure in me, my mother suggested.
As for Sarah, she's been getting more work recently and has begun to demonstrate her abilities, much like my father. She's starting to gain confidence as her skills are increasingly recognized. Her mental state has stabilized, and she's no longer as emotional as she used to be. Looking at Sarah, finding her place to shine makes me feel relieved. I need to work hard too, so I don't fall behind my mom and Sarah. Inspired by them, I started my workday with renewed energy.